Hey, so we are live. Hey, everyone. Welcome once again for today's webinar. Today is super duper special to meet my mentor, my coach, someone whom I've looked up for many years. And he's the man who literally saved my marriage and also took my experience, my wisdom, my way of looking at love to a completely another level. I've never understood love the way I've understood until I met him, Dr. John Demartini. Everyone, please type in love and welcome for Dr. John Demartini in the chat window right now. I'll invite him in a few seconds. Those of you who are not yet, who I'm sure 99% everybody here already knows who Dr. John Demartini is. But in case you don't know, Dr. John Demartini is the man who was in the movie The Secret. And from my point of view, the movie The Secret actually missed on the secret, which Dr. John has to share with us, which is based on his course. From my point of view, that is the most powerful course on law of attraction called the Breakthrough Experience. Everyone type in BTE, Breakthrough Experience, in the chat window. Today is going to be a complete introduction for the first time properly on understanding what is the Breakthrough Experience directly with Dr. John Demartini. I did this course, I think a couple of months ago. When exactly was this, Indu? A few months ago with Dr. John, and he was gracious enough to do it with us in India time zone at that point of time. And there were about some 750 people that we worked with together. It was by far the best workshop I have ever done in my life. And we'll have some of the people who have already attended that course probably attending here today as well. So let me see a heart sign or a virtual Zoom hand sign. If some of you have already attended Dr. John Demartini's Breakthrough Experience course with me a few minutes ago at that point of time. Let's see how many of you are raising your virtual Zoom hand or a heart sign. Quickly do it now. Okay, so a lot of you are here. So at one point of time, I might be inviting some of you to even share your results with people. Indu will also share her results. At that time, Indu was going through a little difficult phase because her brother had just expired at that time. And the moment she did the Breakthrough Experience course, things were so different for her. She was with Deepak. Deepak is her brother's name, and yet not going through that difficult time anymore. Suddenly, she was able to cope up with the passing of her brother in a way that was, I wouldn't say only beautiful, but graceful. And we wouldn't have done it without doctor's help. And the kind of results that people got were extraordinary. But before we proceed, is my voice clear to every single one of you here? Just raise your hands quickly. All good? Okay, great. So we're going to now invite Dr. John Demartini right now. So let's get ready, everyone. I am inviting him now. Doctor, if I may please ask you to switch on your video. And here we go. Everyone, please unmute. Let's go now.
Good morning, everyone.
Some love.
Welcome.
Morning, Dr.
Welcome.
Welcome. Love you.
Welcome, doctor.
Welcome, doctor.
Happy to see you. Love you, sir.
So good to see you after like 2 months.
All right. So, Doctor, that's everyone over here. They are waiting to meet you. So many of them from already graduated from the Breakthrough Experience, and so many of them who've never gone through the opportunity yet of going through Breakthrough Experience. And that's why we invited you here today. Thank you so much for taking the time, for being with us. You've trained about 1 billion people's life you've already touched on this earth. And we still have the privilege of meeting you here again. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to see everyone. Thank you. I recognize some of the faces. Thank you.
You do?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, Doc, thank you so much. I'll kick off by introducing to everyone that today's agenda is to really understand, from my point of view, why I think the Breakthrough Experience is really the secret of manifestation of law of attraction. From my point of view, it's the most powerful law of attraction course in the world because it includes two most powerful discoveries that you've done, the values and the Demartini method. So if we could start with understanding what is the Breakthrough Experience from your point of view?
First of all, it's when I was 17 years old, I met Paul C. Bragg. And in one night, in 1 hour, he inspired me to believe that I could overcome my learning problems and someday become intelligent. I had learning challenges as a child. And that night, I saw a vision, epiphany of what I wanted to do with my dream about traveling the world and becoming a teacher. And I thought someday, when I'm his age, I want to be able to pass the torch like he just did to me. And I've had a dream to do what he did for me to as many people as I can. So the breakthrough experience is an expression of what's inside me that I've wanted to share to help people do what I did at the same time, to do something more extraordinary with their lives since I was that age. But the breakthrough experience, as Mitesh just mentioned, is built around two very powerful tools: the value assessment and the value applications, and also the Demartini method, which is a method I've been developing since age 18 on how to transform anything that we perceive in our way to turn it on the way. So we're anything we can't say thank you for in life is our baggage. Anything we can say thank you for is our fuel. So the breakthrough experience is about how to transform anything that you perceive in the way of you achieving what you want to achieve into something that's fuel and opportunity so you can achieve what you want to achieve. So it's basically how to dissolve all the emotional distractions and baggage and how to be really clear about what it is you want, so you increase the probability of the law of attraction. So you're not banging your head against the wall. You're actually moving forward and showing the progress and metricing the results daily. So the breakthrough experience is about breaking through whatever you perceive in the way, and to help you see the hidden order in the apparent chaos that you may be facing, and find the hidden order in it so you can be a leader and master your life instead of being a victim of history. I want you to be a master of destiny. That's what the program is dedicated to assisting you in becoming master of your destiny.
Wow, amazing. And if I can ask an amazing question about values, for me, the biggest discovery about the breakthrough experience and the values when I started learning with you was that inside us, there is this huge, if I may use the word, tug of war. There's like a war going on inside us all the time. Like part of me wants to exercise, and part of me is saying, let's do it tomorrow. Part of me is saying, I want to attract marriage, and I'm making affirmations for that. But part of me is sabotaging my relationships. When I meet new people, I become shy, or I don't connect with people. Or if I meet new people, I somehow sabotage those relationships by not listening to them, by conflicting with them. In my career, sometimes there's so many wars going on inside us for so many of us over here. One part of us wants to have a better job, a better promotion, a better business, but we're not able to take that action that we really, really want. Why do we have this constant internal conflict within us? And because of that, sometimes the law of attraction affirmations just don't seem to work for us. How can you explain that in terms of values and how the breakthrough experience works for us?
Everybody has a set of priorities, a set of values that are unique to them. And it's a hierarchy of values, things that are most important to least important. Whatever's very highest on that list, the very highest value, is an intrinsic value that you spontaneously are inspired to act upon and fulfill. You don't need any outside motivation or incentives to get you to take action on it. You just take action on it. My highest value is teaching. I do it every day. I don't need motivation to do it. I don't need anything to drive me to do it. I just spontaneously love doing it.
Wow.
But as you go down the list of values, you end up with more extrinsic, lower values that require motivation or incentive. In other words, you need a reward to do it or a punishment if you don't do it to get you to do it. And anything that you require a outside motivation to do, it's not really as important as you may imagine. And many times as we go through life, as we meet people, we end up seeing people that we think are more intelligent than us. We meet people that think have more success or achievement than us.
Yes.
We meet people that think that they have more wealth than us, or that they have a more stable relationship than us, or possibly more social influence, or maybe more physical fitness or beauty, or maybe more spiritual awareness. The moment we compare ourselves to other people and put them on a pedestal, we will inject some of their values into our life.
Wow.
And instead of being congruent with what's valuable to us most, we will attempt to envy and imitate other people and try to inject their values and try to make them our own. And then we'll try to be second at being somebody else instead of being first with us. And so then we have an internal conflict between what we are intrinsically driven to do and what we think we ought to do, should do, supposed to do, got to do, have to do, must do, need to do, according to the people we are comparing ourselves to. The moment we compare ourselves to others instead of comparing our daily actions to what we value most, we decrease the power, we cloud our mind, we end up being distracting, we think that we're sabotaging, we think we beat ourselves up, we're wondering why we're not achieving what's authentic to us. The key is to know what's truly most important to you. And although most people think they know, after doing the value assessments for 45 years now, I found that most people live in vicariously through the fantasies and other people more so than live authentically and give themselves permission to shine and be their magnificent self. So that internal conflict is a source of your own personal, true, highest value and the values that you're imposing on yourself from the outside. Freud called this the superego. Basically the authorities on the outside, we inject their values and we try to live in other people's values, and then we beat ourselves up if we have difficulties doing it. Trying to live in other people's values is futile, and it can be fatal, in which the key is to be authentic to ourselves. The magnificence of who we are is far greater than any fantasies we'll inject or impose on ourselves from outside comparisons.
Wow. There are two important points you said. One is that I'm not able to take action because I'm not clear about my highest values. And the more I work towards my lower values, I'm not going to be inspired. I will need external motivation like reward or punishment to really take action in life. But if I'm working as per my highest values, I don't need motivation. I just have inspiration and internal drive to do what I have to do. And then law of attraction probabilities go high from working for me. And I start attracting what I want. But you also said something powerful after that. You said, whenever I'm looking up to someone, I'm not practicing the values that I have. I'm probably trying to inject their values in my life and compare myself with them constantly. And as a result of that, I keep telling myself, for an example, I should be like Dr. John Demartini, or I should be like someone else, and I should do what they're doing. If they're getting up in the morning, I should get up in the morning. If they're meditating, I should meditate. But we keep avoiding all those activities, even though we feel we should do it. And that is the source of our internal conflicts. Did I understand that right so far?
Yes. The very term used in personal development called limited beliefs are actually internalizations of other people, things we admire in other people, attempting to be somebody we're not. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, envy is ignorance and imitation is suicide. The moment we try to be second at being somebody else, we rob ourselves. Einstein also said this. He said that if we're a cat trying to climb a tree, or trying to swim like a fish, or a fish trying to climb a tree like a cat, we're going to beat ourselves up because we're trying to be somebody we're not. The magnificence of who we actually are is already magnificent. With the law of attraction is spontaneously and instantaneously a manifestation power the moment we're congruent. That's the reason why I put the breakthrough experience together. I want people to know what they value most, so it increases the probability of the law of attraction, and to show them how to dissolve the infatuations and resentments that they put on other people. Because just as much as you can look up to people and inject their values, you can also look down on people and project your values. Wow. And as long as you're trying to get others to live in your values, or you're trying to live in other people's values, both of them are futile. We're here to live in our own values and to communicate what we value in terms of other people's values and have a sustainable, fair exchange. So people want to continue to do business with us because it's a win-win relationship to do it, which magnetizes the law of attraction in our life.
Wow. Wow. Everyone type in wow if that made a lot of wow moments in your life. For me, light bulbs are going up right now. Doctor, can you share an amazing story of a student of yours who went through this experience of realizing what their own values, their own internal conflicts, and how they were looking up to someone, looking down to someone, and the moment they got inspired after the breakthrough experience, how their life shifted after that? Probably through that story, we all will be able to understand this better.
Well, I can think of lots of stories, but one that just popped in my head as you said that was a doctor that I met many years ago. And he was attending a consultant. He was going to a consultant's conference, a management consultant. And he was trying to be the manager that he was being guided by. And he was frustrated because he wasn't actually getting to be what he hoped to be. He wasn't getting results. And he was beating himself up. And the manager was saying, well, you're not disciplined. You're not really following through, and really giving him a hard time. And finally he broke through and he says, I can't do this. This is not me. what he's asking me to do doesn't fit my personality. So he left and he joined another organization that was more congruent and aligned with what his value was. The moment he did that, he was able to inculcate and able to utilize the actions because they were congruent with what his values were, and he excelled. Another story. I had a gentleman that asked me to consult with him, and he says, Dr. Demartini, I want you to help me become successful. And I said, okay. I said, where are you successful? He said, I'm not successful. I want to be successful. I said, fantastic. Where are you successful? He said, Dr. Demartini, you're not listening to me. I'm not successful. I want to be successful. I said, you're not listening to me. You're not answering my question. Where are you successful? And he goes, I don't have success. I said, look, where are you accomplishing what you set out to do? And finally he said, okay, I have a successful relationship with my son. He's a baseball player and we're going to win the pennant this summer. And so I guess I'm successful in that. I said, great. Where else is successful? Well, I have an amazing relationship with my wife. We've been together for 10 years and we have an amazing 11 years almost, amazing relationship. And I wouldn't change that for the world. I said, what else you got successful? Well, we're going to get yard of the month. We got beautiful flowers. Our yard is beautiful. What else? Well, my mother-in-law's with us and we have a great relationship with my mother-in-law. And what else? Well, I do church services on Wednesdays and Sundays, and I'm doing this. And that's a goal that I had since I was 20. I said, can you see that what things that you have set out to do, you are achieving? He goes, now that you asked me in that very concise form, yes. I said, the only reason why you think you're not successful is because you're comparing yourself to somebody. Who is it?
Oh.
He paused and he goes, I know who that is. I said, who is he? He says, that doctor up on the hill. He's got a 6,000 square foot home. He's got a 3-car garage. He's got a big practice and I don't. And I'm comparing myself to that doctor. I said, great. Do you know the doctor well? Yes. How's his relationship with his wife? Oh, that's interesting. They fight and they break up and then they get back together and they fight and they break up and they get back together. It's a very volatile relationship. Does he have any children? Yes. Does he have a son? Yes. How's his relationship with his son? Well, they're having problems with him in school. He's not staying in school. He's doing drugs and he's a wild teenager. And I said, what about the yard? Does he work in the yard? No. He's got people to take care of. I don't think he even notices his yard. And what about his mother-in-law? Well, they moved out of the country to get away from the mother-in-law. She's just dominating. I said, what about his work with his church service or whatever? No, he doesn't go to church. I said, let me explain to you. This man's not successful more than you. He's not more successful than you. He has a different form of success. And his form of success is in line with his values. And he has a higher value on business and finance and a lower value on relationship, spirituality, and family. You have a high value on family and spirituality and a lower value on business. If you compare yourself to somebody else and expect to live in their values, not your own, you're going to beat yourself up and think there's something wrong with you when in fact there isn't. In fact, that gentleman probably admires your relationship and your spiritual quest because he probably feels that you have something that he perceives he doesn't. So as long as you compare yourself to other people and not honor the form of where your success is, you're going to beat yourself up thinking something wrong. And then you're going to be wondering why the secret's not working. The secret always works when you're congruent and aligned with what your values are. But you run into snags, and it's meant to run into snags. Because when you're inauthentic, you're not here to design to live an inauthentic life. You're designed to live an authentic and empowered life. So being congruent with what you really value is what's important, not the comparison. So people come to the breakthrough experience, and many times they discover that what they're pursuing isn't really truly what they thought is important. It's not really what's really, really important. It's what they thought it was. And so they now finally get congruent. And the moment they do, they open up doors of opportunity. The moment they do, they stop comparing. The moment they do, they start focusing. The moment they do and stop judging, they start to love and appreciate their lives and the people around them for who they are according to their own values and themselves. That's what the breakthrough experience does. It helps people realize the power they have within themselves when they're authentic.
Wow, that was a lot of realization for me. How many of you got some realizations there? Type in realization in the chat window right now. Doctor, this is so much, if I may say, if I use the word counterproductive or opposite to what the wisdom that the world has taught us, that I need to look up to people who are already successful to become like them. And this is what you're teaching is completely different from that. All my life, I've been told, if you want to make a great body, do what that guy is doing because he's got that great body. If you want to make a lot of money, do what that guy is doing because he's got a lot of money. How do you explain that? Then, like, my whole concept of role modeling and looking up to people has just been thrashed right now.
Well, it's not that you don't want to appreciate and honor and respect where their values have led them. It's that you don't want to think you're missing what you perceive in them. Let me give you an example.
Wow.
When it comes to Stephen Hawking, the great astrophysicist, he has a great mind in astrophysiology, astrophysics, but maybe human behavior he's not so bright in, or maybe in relationships he's not as bright in. We all have strengths and weaknesses according to the hierarchy of our values. So I'm not missing what I see in him, excellence and knowledge in my own field.
Right.
So I'm not missing it. It's in my own form. So I want to appreciate him for who he is according to his own values, but not try to envy and imitate him and try to do it in his values. I want to extract and realize that what I see in him, I already have in me, and then respect him and appreciate him for his values and then find out how to catalyze that me. So I'd rather not try to be like him. I'd rather try to find out where I have what he has in my form and honor the form mine is and excel in mine.
Wow, that is crazy. Doctor, can I share my own example with you? When I read about this from your book for the first time, I confess that I was going through a huge comparison with someone called Tony Robbins. I'm sure you know him. And I wanted to be like him, and I was injecting his values in me. And I was thinking, I wanted to go all over the world, speak in front of thousands of people. And it was only when I really did your breakthrough experience book, the value determination book, for the first time, I realized what my values are. And I understood how I was really looking down to myself so much. And I realized that is why I was not growing, because how could the law of attraction work for me when I was down right here, feeling bad about myself all the time and looking up to Tony Robbins, thinking, I am nothing, he's God, and I am nothing, and he's everything. And I was frustrated every day. I was sad. I kept beating myself that I'm demotivated, I'm this, I'm that. But it was only when I truly got in touch with who I am through this method, when I really started getting inspired. And for the first time, I realized what I really wanted to be. And my life just skyrocketed from there. And all that credit 100% goes to you. So thank you so much for teaching me the breakthrough experience and making me true to my own values. How many of you want to be really, really true to your own values? Type in honesty or authenticity. The word he uses is always authentic. Like, I started being authentic to myself. Can you maybe share something like this from your own life or another such story that was emotional to you from the breakthrough experience?
Yes. Everyone wants to be loved and appreciated for who they are.
Yeah.
I had a lady who came to breakthrough experience that was beating herself up unconsciously and exaggerating her boyfriend. She'd been dating him for about a year. She had him on a pedestal. She was minimizing herself, but she didn't want to admit it. But whenever we're not authentic, we function from our amygdala. When our amygdala, we get addicted to pride and a fantasy of who we are, and we get addicted to fantasies and infatuations of other people. The moment she was infatuated with him and trying to cover up her insecurities with an arrogance, she was expecting him to hurry up and marry her because they'd been dating for a year. And she was, trying to get him to hurry up and make a commitment. In the process of doing it, I said, what is in it for him? What do you perceive in you? And she said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, what are you offering? Here's a guy that has $11 million. He's got a big business. He's got a ranch. He's highly educated. He's good looking. He's healthy. He's tall. He's got a lot to offer. What are you offering him? And she said, well, I hadn't thought about it. And I said, well, are you highly intelligent, have a high degree of degrees and education? She goes, not really. I didn't finish, I started college, but I didn't finish it. Do you have a very savvy business savvy and you can run businesses and help him in his business? Well, not really. I work as an assistant. Do you have a dowry, a fund, a financial fund? She goes, no, not really. I'm in debt. I said, well, do you have a history of being in relationships that are stable? She says, no, I've had three relatively long-term relationships, but then they ended. And I said, are you socially savvy and connected to everybody? She goes, not really. I mean, I live in a small town and I can't call Oprah or something. No. Are you physically fit? She said, I'm pretty good there and I'm a good lover. And I said, okay, you have confidence in that area. Are you spiritually aware? Are you inspired by what you do? She goes, sort of. I said, so what are you offering him? And she goes, well, I guess now that you ask those questions, I guess it's not the greatest offer. I said, well, he's not committed to you. He's committed to fulfilling what he values most. He's looking for a partner that helps him fulfill what is valuable. So I said, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to hear, this is at the breakthrough experience. So we're going to have him do the Demartini method on you and find out the things that he's disliking in you, find out and neutralize them, and the things he's admiring and neutralize them and bring them back into a more of an equal position. Then I'm going to have you come up here and I'm going to ask you, because the only reason why you're minimizing yourself to him is you're not honoring and recognizing the forms of where you have power in each area. So I said, so I brought her up to the front of the room and I spent 2 hours with her one-on-one and found out where her intellectualization, where her knowledge was. It wasn't in a formal education. It was in a knowledge about some things that she's been trained in, specializing in helping in businesses. Then I looked at where her business savvy was, and she realized she had business savvy in her form, but she wasn't honoring it because she was comparing it to this other man's form. Then I looked at where her wealth was. Everybody's got wealth, but it's in a form that they may not be acknowledging. Then I looked at where her relationship stability was whenever she was authentic. I looked at where her social connections were and the ripple effect of those social connections. And I went around the wheel of life, took all 7 areas that I mentioned, and helped her see that nothing was missing in her life. She was actually empowered, but she was comparing herself to so many people. She wasn't seeing it, recognizing it, was playing underdog, and then putting him on a pedestal and wondering why he wasn't wanting to get married. The moment I leveled the playing field and helped her realize the form she was having her success in, just like the guy, the doctor, the moment I did and raised her perception of herself, she started to cry. That's doing the Demartini method in the breakthrough experience and helping her realize her own values. So it was the value application of the Demartini method I did this with. When she was through, she had tears in her eyes. She realized that she was valuable more than she had realized before. Wow. Then she said, I'm not going to rush into this relationship. I want to make sure he's the right man, because the last 3 relationships I got infatuated with, I played underdog, I diminished myself, I gave power to him, and they all ran off with another woman. So I'm about to repeat the cycle again, but now that I feel empowered, I'm not going to just rush into this. I'm going to make sure this is the guy. But right now, I feel that it's now level. I said, fantastic. Now that you're not desperate to get the relationship, you're now repositioned to get the relationship, because it's not missing in your life now. You have it in another form. I showed her the form in which she had this power. And when I got through, he was finishing the Demartini method and leveling the playing field so he could appreciate her and see what she had to offer. Wow. We took a break. They went to lunch. When they got off from lunch, I said, I'll see you in an hour. They went off. We were in Calgary, Canada. They went outside to go to the restaurant. They stopped on the way to the restaurant, they stopped in a diamond ring store, a jewelry store, and he bought her a $26,000 diamond engagement ring and proposed to her on the spot. And when we came back to the seminar, she said to me, I walked over to her and I saw these women looking at a ring and the guys looking out the window, because they're like going, oh crap, this is going to happen to my girlfriend too. And all of a sudden I said, what the heck, what happened? And he says, well, he proposed to me and she showed up the ring. And I walked over to him and I said, what the hell happened to you? Yeah. He said, while you were working with my girlfriend doing the Demartini method, for the first time in a year that we've been together, I actually thought that she's going to walk away. that you're going to talk her out of being with me.
Whoa.
And I've never felt what it was like to not have her in my life. She was clinging and demanding and expecting a relationship. And I felt like there's no rush. But the moment you communicate with her, I felt all of a sudden her withdraw and realize her power. And I realized her power doing the Demartini method. And that's when I first felt like if all of a sudden she wasn't in my life, I would miss that. And that's when I decided this is the woman. So the moment she valued herself, so did he. The moment she empowered herself, so did the relationship dynamic. The moment she realized that she had things in her own values, not somebody else's, and empowered them and recognized them, the world around her changed. That's what happens at the breaks experience. When people stop comparing themselves to others and start comparing their daily actions to what they value most. That's when the law of attraction manifests its miracles.
Wow. And that was in a few hours. How many of you would like to attract this kind of fast success in marriage? I don't know. How many of you ladies in for a $26,000 ring after this course? All right. So type in love in the chat window, because this was all about love and love attraction. This is just beautiful. And now changing gears a little bit from the values, now going to the Demartini method, as you spoke about right now. Doctor, when I saw that for the first time, it took me an hour to just understand the whole thing. But once I got into it, one of my most inspired learnings from that was what you said: nothing is ever missing in anyone. And it was crazy how you actually proved it in the breakthrough experience that Indu's brother had just expired, and she literally found qualities of her brother around her and people exactly the way you showed her when you worked with her one-on-one in the course. How did you come about this Demartini method, and how are you able to prove so powerfully with so much certainty that nothing is ever missing in us? And yet there are so many of us here living in depression, feeling angry, feeling like I don't have enough in my life. And here you call us in a breakthrough experience and you're saying nothing is ever missing in us right now. How do you really prove that?
Well, many years ago, I set out to try to develop this method when I was 18. And I wanted to find a way of finding a hidden order in life's apparent chaos. And in the process of doing that, I realized what disorder means. Claude Shannon said that disorder means missing information. It's the things we're unconscious of. It's the things we're ignorant of. And as long as we're ignorant and unconscious of things, we lose our power. So I realized that whatever we perceive in other people, when we're pointing our finger, there are three pointing back. Whatever we perceive in them is inside us. So what I did is I went to the big Oxford English Dictionary, the largest dictionary I could find with the smallest print. And I went through every behavioral trait a human being could have: kind and cruel and nice and mean and positive and negative and considerate and honest and dishonest, and whatever trait a human being could have. And I made a list. I went through there and I underlined and grabbed a list of all of them. There were 4,628 traits I found.
Wow.
Out of each of those traits, I then, to the side, I wrote out the name of somebody who displayed that trait to the most extreme example that I could think of. When I did, I then asked myself, John, where do I and when do I display that behavior? And I kept looking and looking and looking until I discovered it as much as I saw in the most extreme example. And I went through 4,628 traits, and I found out that every single one of them were in my life. Wow. The things I liked, the things I disliked, my hero, my villain, everything was in me. Then I realized, because instead of imposing that onto other people, I wanted to find out inside me and be able to own it all. Nothing's missing in me. At the level of the soul, nothing's missing. At the level of the senses, things appear to be missing. The things that appear to be missing are the things we're too proud or too humble to admit that what we see in others inside ourselves. In other words, we're infatuate with somebody, we're too humble to admit what we see in them inside us. If we're resentful, we're too proud to admit what we see in them is inside us. If we love somebody, we have reflective awareness and we admit we have everything we see in us. Namaste, the divine in me sees the divine in you.
Wow.
The moment we realize that everything that we ever perceive in any other human being is within us, it calms down the judgment and allows us to appreciate and love people, because we realize that we need all those parts. Not one of those parts is missing. Not one of those parts is unnecessary. If any of those parts were unnecessary, they would have gone extinct. If they didn't serve humanity, they would have gone extinct. Then I realized something. The traits that I thought were positive, I found downsides to. The traits I thought were negative, I found upsides to. I found out that when I was really, really tough on people and maybe critical of them at times, they come around and said, I really needed to hear that. It made me change, and it's now got me on fire, and I'm now more independent. And then I was really nice to them. That made them dependent. So I thought, well, being nice also has downsides, because it can make people dependent and they'll be obligated to you. And the being mean to them makes them independent and they don't feel an obligation. They're set free. So I realized that every trait is neutral until somebody with an incomplete awareness subjectively biases their interpretation of the trait. So not only did I discover I had every trait, but every trait was essential for me to master my life. So I didn't have to get rid of half of myself to be myself. I didn't try to go, I'm going to get rid of this half and only be this half, because otherwise I'm caught in moral paradoxes. So I discovered, while I was developing the method, column by column, step by step, over the years, over literally 50 years, I learned little bits and pieces more and more about how to master life in the process. I realized nothing's missing. I have every trait. I don't need to get rid of half of a trait. I don't need to gain a trait. It's not missing. I already have it in my own form. Well, that was empowering. And then I realized that whatever I did with other people, they also got benefits out of. And I don't need to judge myself. I don't need to be proud of what I've done or ashamed of what I've done. I can just love me for who I am.
But breakthrough experience.
Sorry about that. That was Emil. I've put him on mute. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what that did is it allowed me to start to see things from a new perspective. It allowed me to kind of transcend what was typically taught in the personal development field, because I realized that not everybody had that deeper awareness, that broader awareness about all of human behavior. So I realized that I have to be willing to walk a new path and be an unborrowed visionary and say things that research points to, instead of just following and fitting in and being part of the herd. And as a result of that, I've created a new methodology. But there's about 60 different individual components to the method. Those are just two of them that I just mentioned. Wow. Just two of the 60 different components.
I remember we went through A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And in 2 days with 700 people, I remember we were all crying at a point where I remember we've had moments of tears of inspiration at least 10 times. Like the first day and second day, every day we had like moments of, I had no idea. Like the second day, I thought I've cried enough and there was no more realization. And yet when I did the Demartini method again, the second day, once again with you, it was, couldn't believe what I was feeling every single time. And I remember this one significant story, if I may ask you to share that with us again, where you spoke about a gentleman who was blind when he came to the breakthrough experience. And when he went through the Demartini method, his eyesight came back in the middle of the course. Am I remembering that right?
Yes. His name was Daniel. This is a number of years back. It was in Milton, Ontario, Canada. When he was born with the crowning of his head. They had to get a forceps delivery in those days, way back years ago, 60-something years ago now. When he was born, he had a crowning and he had a deformed head. When the father saw him, he assumed that his son was deformed and brain damaged. He couldn't handle that. So he felt that the mother gave him a deformed child.
Right.
And so he just said, I don't want to see this child. I don't want to hear this child. And he left and never saw his child again, never saw the wife again, disappeared.
Well,
the boy, as a baby, somehow inculcated that and felt that, the rejection, even as a baby, and became blind and deaf from childhood.
Wow.
So they realized he was not able to see, not able to hear. So all the way through his life, he was blind and deaf. In the process of doing that, he learned how to communicate with his hands. So he had a woman in the seminar talking to him with his hands. They were doing his hand motions.
Because he couldn't see and neither could he
I
hear.
was speaking. Yeah, he couldn't hear it, but he could just do it. So he just stared and he just looked, and his eyes are just, staring. And she's talking to him as I'm speaking. And as long as I didn't have any problem with him being in the seminar, but they were just working together. She asked if she could be there with him. He was a doctor. He made it through school and educated himself with this lady.
Wow.
So this is a very determined individual. And he was known in his practice because he had skills of kinesthetic. He could feel. He was a chiropractor and he could feel, but he couldn't see or hear. So when we did the Demartini method, everybody else was working and completing it that night, but it was slower with him. So he went home after midnight and kept working by himself in his mind because he understood the questions. So he's asking himself questions. And all of a sudden, while he was at home at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, he had this realization. And all of a sudden, he realized that he recalled his babyhood, that he was embarrassed. And all of a sudden, I'm bare-assed, I'm naked, I'm on the floor, and my dad doesn't want to hear me and see me. This came to his awareness because babies can hear and see even before they're born. When he did, he started to cry because he realized that he became a doctor that could feel and had a special gift to feeling because of this event. And all of the unconscious resentment that he had for his father dissolved. All of a sudden, he just realized that was the perfection of what was to happen in his life. He was comparing his life thinking that was a mistake. He now sees it was a gift. He turned it from in the way to on the way, from baggage to fuel, from unthank you to thank you. The moment he did, and he bawled and cried, in the house he was in was a grandfather clock. The grandfather clock started to chime. Dong, dong. And all of a sudden, he recorded this. He had a recording going on. And he basically said, he mumbled, he said, oh my God, oh my God. I can hear. And he turned to the clock. And he saw the clock.
Oh.
Oh God. So he came back the next morning with no real sleep. Because we started back at 8 something in the morning. And he gave me the recording of that night because he recorded it for the lady in the morning to be able to communicate with. And he was sitting in the room and I walked in and there were about 12 or 15 people gathered around him because he could see and hear again.
Wow.
Now, there's downside to that because he was married and he had never seen his wife. That was a bit of a shock. He didn't know his wife. Never heard his wife and never seen his wife. So that was a bit of a shock. But this was a complete transformation in his life. But the point is that we sometimes create psychosomatic conditions because of the psychological stresses that we face. We create illness, and the illness is a feedback many times to give us an insight on how to go back and to love and to be authentic. There's no way we can be authentic when we judge. Because if we're looking down on somebody, we're exaggerating ourselves. If we're looking up at somebody, we're minimizing ourselves. But the second we love somebody and see a reflective awareness in whatever we see in them, we have in us, and we're not exaggerating or minimizing them or us, we have authenticity and we have homeostasis, we have wellness and healing. And that's when we get gamma burst of eureka moments and inspiration. And that's when all of a sudden we're now resonant, perfectly resonant with our innermost dominant thought to make the law of attraction manifest.
Wow, mind blowing. Everyone type in mind blowing. I had tears of inspiration just remembering that story again of how the gentleman actually got his eyes back, he got his hearing back. And how many of you are realizing that probably you are doing this to yourself for many, many years, where you've got some kind of a psychosomatic hidden inside you and manifesting into some kind of a physical element. And maybe in the breakthrough experience, it's possible that you could completely dissolve that. And I remember, Doctor, you taught me one of the most profound things in my life. I have goosebumps every time I even describe this, that you were the first one to make me realize there's nothing completely negative and there's nothing completely positive. And that whenever I hate someone, I'm just seeing one side of that person, not the whole side of that person. And that actually everything is love. And the fact that I went through, like you said, this gentleman in his childhood went through a tragedy was actually the divine order of love that made him that kinesthetic doctor because of that event. But for being able to see this, is it really true that nothing is completely bad and that everything is really love? Can you explain that in your own way again? Because I've never been able to remember it exactly this way you always say it. Everything is love. How is that so?
So there was a gentleman that I got to consult with who had been hijacked on a highway. He's surrounded by cars. They came in with guns and they stopped him. He was a big owner of a company and they hijacked him and they wanted to ransom a large sum of money in order to let him be free. And so they put a sack over his head. They stuck him in a back of a car. They put him in the back of a car where there were fumes. They drove him for hours. They put him in some barn. They had him tied and they tortured him and they were demanding money, a large sum of money from this gentleman, or otherwise they were going to kill him and his family. Well, he raised the money. He paid off the ransom. He got his family back, but was traumatized and had post-traumatic stress disorder. That was the title.
Yeah.
Not one therapist, nobody asked him what were the benefits.
Yeah, of course.
Nobody. Because they just assume it's traumatic, it's tragic. So when I got on the phone with him, the Zoom message communication, I said, so go to the moment when you're in the back seat of the car, the back trunk of the car, thrown in the car. You're covered, you're blind, you can't see, it's dark, it's fumes. You're thinking you're about to be killed, ransomed, etc. And in that moment of darkness and a yucky smell and feeling of trapped, in that moment, your mind will automatically have a comparison, a complementary opposite comparison. Because in order to bring homeostasis, the brain makes an anti-memory to balance it. So I asked him at that moment, what came into your mind? Go get present in that moment. Go to where it was, when it was, what exactly is the content of the mind? And he says, well, I actually dissociated and I saw myself with my family holding hands running through a field. It was fresh air, not stink. It was light and sunny, not dark. His mind created the anti-particle, the anti-memory to balance out the memory. And I said, in that moment, can you see that your mind had both? And the tragic and the ecstatic were simultaneous. He goes, I was completely unaware of that. I saw the tragic. I was unaware of the ecstatic that was in my mind. Now go to the next moment and the next moment. And we found the pairs of opposites that were complementary opposites. The brain automatically creates the opposite and brings homeostasis to the electronics in the brain. The moment we went through frame by frame by frame through this traumatic experience and found the ecstatic and brought them together simultaneously, the entire thing was no longer tragic. It was just a pair of balance. And I said, so now what was the benefit of it all happening? And with a little prompting, he said, I discovered how much I loved my family. I was working, family was second. I wouldn't have time for them. I was always late. I was taking it for granted. I now got to appreciate my family. Fantastic. What's that worth? And I put a dollar value on it. What's another benefit? I have lost weight. I was having hypertension. I had gained weight. I was not taking care of my health. I was having high stress situations. I'm now doing meditation. I'm doing some exercise with my wife. We're hiking as a family. We're doing things. I'm eating better. I've got my health and life back. What else? Another benefit. Well, while I was gone for those weeks, all the people that I've been wanting to take command of my business and delegate and come to a rise to do a great job, when they realized I wasn't there, they rose to the occasion. They started doing more of what I was hoping they would do and delegating and taking control and taking accountability. And my business actually went up when I was gone. And it made more money than when I was there pushing it. And I said, how much more money did it make than the ransom? He says, I made more than the ransom. I said, so then what you're saying is the people that ransom you gave you your family back, gave you your health and life back, gave you your business more efficient. You got more of a powerful business out of it. You got people that do the things you wanted to do, and you have time to be with yourself now and be with your family and to time and concentrate and think of other things. He goes, I never thought about that. I feel like I want to thank these people now. We sat down and transformed the perception until he was in a state of grace, until he was in a state of gratitude for what happened. And the construct of a traumatic experience was gone. There was no traumatic. There was no terrible thing that happened to his life. It was over. So it's not what happens to it. It's a perception, and it's the perception we have, the decision we have that makes these things labeled that way. So as long as he had that perception and he was conscious of the downsides and not conscious of the upsides, he was traumatized. The moment he saw both sides simultaneously, he was inspired and grateful. And that's the hidden order in the apparent chaos. That's why the hidden order is not missing information and disorder is missing information. It's about seeing the both sides simultaneously. Wilhelm Wundt, the father of modern psychology, basically him and William James understood that the way, when you see simultaneous contrast, you're unveiling the hidden order, and you're able to be inspired and grateful and have gamma waves in the brain and have eureka moments of aha. The second you see one side or the other and judge it, you shut that brain down, go in the amygdala, and you're now a victim of history. I showed him how to be from victim of history to master of destiny, and he was no longer traumatized. He was no longer post-traumatic stress disorder, and it took 2 hours in total. That's it, done. This is what the breakthrough experience can do.
Wow. Everyone type in crazy if that is crazy for you. I would have never imagined that a tragedy like this can have something upside. And I tell you on behalf of everyone here, doctor, because I know 90% of these people, I talk to them regularly. There are so many people who are attending our call today who are depressed. They feel they're going through misery, they're going through tragedy, and they feel like life is down and right and they couldn't get worse anymore. And I promise you right now, there are on the call people who are having suicidal thoughts. I just spoke to a few of them yesterday. How many of you can relate with what I'm saying right now? Type an I in the chat window. You don't have to give me details, just type an I in the chat window. How many of you are going through depression, frustration, you're feeling down right now and you're feeling hopeless and you have some suicidal thoughts right now? And Doc, you're saying during the breakthrough experience, you can take any one of these people and you can show them that their tragedy is an illusion, no matter how bad it is. Because right now, I can probably hear somebody getting angry saying, doctor, I got raped. Are you trying to say there's something good about that? Somebody cheated me in my business. Are you trying to say something is good about that? And how can the Demartini method really balance that out for us?
I haven't seen anything that our mortal body can experience that our mortal soul can't love. I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen anything that the mortal body can experience that the immortal soul can't love. I haven't seen anything that we can experience that we can't ask new questions and change the perception of and turn it into an opportunity. There's nothing you are going to be facing that you can't transform into something you can be used, that can be useful and something to be grateful for. And that's what I love doing in the breakthrough experience. I love helping people see what they think is in the way and turn it on the way, and show them how to be resourceful, which means to return to the source. The real source is the authentic you. And to be resourceful is to return to your source and go back and see it from an unconditional loving state. So every event, when you think something is terrible, you just haven't asked the question. You're unconscious of the upsides. If you ask the question, what are the upsides and benefits, and hold yourself accountable until they balance, there is no terrible there. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to grow. And we don't attract events in our life unless they're there to catalyze further growth. As long as we're addicted to support, we attract challenge. As long as we're addicted to protection, we attract aggression. We're attracting into our life what we need in order to maximize our growth. But what we're actually doing is we're holding on to a fantasy that we're supposed to get only support. But if we get nothing but support, we stay juvenilely dependent. We don't grow. We need the challenge to grow. So people who are wise, they pursue challenges that inspire them. People who are less wise are trying to avoid challenges that inspire them. The key is to go and fill your day with challenges, problems in the world that you want to solve. The people that make the most money are the people that find the biggest problems on the planet that the most amount of people have, and they go and find a way of solving it. Indirectly or directly, they go and solve it. There's no lack of income for people who care about humanity enough to solve humanity's problems. So as long as you're focusing on solving massive problems that serve lots of people, you don't get trapped in your own trivial problems that distract you.
Wow. That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. One last thing, Doctor. During the Demartini method program, the Breakthrough Experience program, for 2 days, I remember the last thing that we did was the most profound about the Demartini method was dissolving grief. And as I told you, Indu was going through grief because she was grieving her brother. And you said when a person, because I think for anybody, maybe I'm wrong, but I think for most of us, losing somebody physically and when that person dies away is the biggest misery that people say they're going through. And getting over that is very difficult. People can remain in that grief for so many years. And you're saying the Demartini method is able to, in 1 hour or 2 hours, like have that grief disappear and have moments of inspiration. How is that? And can you maybe give us a story on that?
Yeah, I've helped over 4,000 people who've had deaths dissolve grief in 3 hours or less. So I've got a full track record on that. We don't grieve people we love. We only grieve the parts of them that we were infatuated with. Now, what does that mean? When you're with somebody and married to somebody for a long period of time, or grow up with a family and mother and father, whatever, there are things you like and there are things you dislike.
Right.
Things that you admire, things you despise or want to avoid, things that you feel support and challenge your values. But nobody's one-sided. Each individual has both. Now, when somebody dies, the parts you admired, you grieve the loss of. The parts you despised, you relieve the loss of. So let's say your grandmother just died, but for the last 3 years, she was living with you and you were having to take care of her. You weren't able to go to work. You were not able to be with the kids. You were having to spend a lot of time on that. And so all of a sudden, she now leaves. The part of you that was burdened by her presence, you now are relieved of. But the things you liked about her, her smiles, her sense of humor, her wisdom, you now have the grief of. So we have both grief and relief when people die and when people leave or depart. A boyfriend leaves us, a husband leaves us, or something. So what we do in the Demartini method is we go in there and find out those two sides. We go and find the things that we are admiring about them and feeling the loss of. We identify them and we list them all. So I ask him, what specific trait, action, or inaction do you perceive this individual displayed or demonstrated that you admired most and now miss most? And we list every single one that we can think of. Spiritually, mentally, career, financial, family, social, physical. We make a list of them all. And we make sure we get them all thoroughly until there's nothing we're missing other than that list. Then I go to a moment, from the moment you last perceive them demonstrating that trait, who now emerges in your life to display that trait? Now, I learned when I was 14 years old that nothing's missing, that if all of a sudden your mommy's not there, for other people become a mommy figure, or you make a doll a mommy figure, or you become the mommy figure, but nothing's ever missing. So I then have them go and find out quantitatively where every one of those pieces that they thought are missing and gone, where are they today? Now, I've been doing that since I was 14. I am certain that that's solid. I've done that in more than 4,000 people. Nothing's missing. But what we do is we get attached to the form. As the Buddha says, the attachment of form is what makes our suffering. We get attached to the infatuated form and we miss the form and not look and honor the new forms that are coming into our life. The moment we can quantitatively find the new forms and they balance, we realize I'm not missing it. Then I go and I ask, now go to the moment when they actually displayed the trait that you admired. What were the downsides to it? Because every trait has both upsides and downsides. What were the downsides? To crack the infatuation that you had with that behavior. And then I go and find out what were the upsides of the new people that are now providing the trait. Once those are all balanced, I can guarantee you, money back guarantee you that grief is gone. Poof. We did a study in Keio University in Japan a few years ago, where they had two professors that were doing it more scientifically. And they basically did a pilot study with 12 people that had prolonged grief syndrome, that was grief for 6 months or longer. Well, we went in there. I had 12 of my facilitators that were trained in the Demartini method. And I and them dissolved that 2 hours and 17-minute average, dissolved that. They followed them a week later, a month later, 3 months 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 later. No grief for 18 months. And they had grief for 6 months or longer, up to 3 years prior to us doing that 2 hour and 17-minute intervention. The Demartini method is a science of dissolving grief. No human being has to be grieving on this planet more than 2 hours to 3 hours ever again on the planet now with this tool. That's why I want people to come to the breakthrough experience. I want them to know that tool, because sometimes they're going to have grief not over the death of somebody, but a boyfriend that left, or a girlfriend that left, or a loss of money, or your children disappeared and went off and started to move away from house. Any form of grief, of a perception of loss of something in life, dissolve it. That's the power of that exercise. That's why I want people to come into breakthrough to do that method, so they have that. So the rest of their life, they know how to dissolve those emotions. Every emotion is nothing but a lopsided perception, an imbalanced ratio of perceptions. That's it. If you can balance the perception, out will come love. There's nothing your mortal body can experience that you can't turn to love. There's nothing but love. All else is illusion. And our emotions are revealing our illusions. Our incomplete awareness is about the magnificence, the divine magnificence that surrounds our life. So in the breakthrough experience, I teach people how to access the magnificence, the order that's in the universe, the perfection that's in the universe. And they're part of it. And that includes them. They're not missing anything. They don't lack anything. They haven't lost anything or gained anything. They're transforming everything. And that's what the secret was really about. The power to realize that you're manifesting, but sometimes you're not realizing that the form you're manifesting in is according to your true values, not the ones that you've injected from people you put on pedestals.
Wow, everyone type in wow. I'm speechless right now about what I'm listening to. Doctor, before we close, I know it's an hour we've taken of yours, and I will explain to people how they can join and what is included and all, but would you be comfortable sharing one story with us, which is something that made you cry about the breakthrough experience and you said, thank God I created the breakthrough experience?
Well, there's lots of those, but I had a gentleman that was in Sydney, Australia, who was 58 years old. He was attending the breakthrough experience. A friend of his told him he had to go. He didn't know what it was. He'd never been to any of my seminars. His buddy just told him go. So he was a bit skeptical. And I asked him in the breakthrough experience, I want you to identify somebody that you have a major resentment to, that you know is impacted your decisions in life, made you avoid certain things or people, or made you seek the opposite of who they represent. He said, I know exactly who that is. It's my father. I said, so the biggest resentment you got is your father? He says, absolutely. He said, when I was 16 years old, him and his father got in a major brawl and fight, a fist fighting thing. And it was a really beating fist fight. And his father told him to get out of the house and leave and never come back.
Wow.
So he left at 16 years old. He was 58, 42 years he'd never seen his father. He has not talked to his father or seen his father in 42 years. His father, as far as he was concerned, he would spit on his father's grave.
Wow.
That's how angry he was. So I went in there and I had to have him go and said, well, everything, let's write down everything, every specific trait, action or inaction that you perceived in your father that you despise most. And he made a list. Then we had to go and find out where he's done every one of those things in his life, some of which was to his own kids, his own sons, but some were to his business partners, and some to his employees, and some to people he's met on the street when he got drunk. So he had to own every one of those traits. He had to find the benefits of each one of those traits in his life. He became an entrepreneur, very driven, a young leader, had to figure it out on his own. He was a very confident and independent guy that had a successful business career. He always said, in spite of my dad, but the real truth was it was also because of him doing that. His father beating him made him go out and become driven, an entrepreneur and a leader. So we got down to the very last question, the breakthrough experience and the Demartini method. If your father had been the way you hoped he'd have been that day, kind and gentle and supportive and protective and not aggressive that day, what would have been the drawback to you? And he said, well, there wouldn't be any drawback. I said, well, that's a fantasy. What would have been the drawback to you? He says, I can't see any. I said, well, you're holding on to a fantasy. That's why you're resenting your father. I said, did you have any brothers or sisters? He said, I had a brother. I said, did he treat your brother the way he treated you? Was he aggressive and did you fight and did you beat him up? No, he was just the opposite to my brother. I said, so if you had exactly what your brother had, the treatment that your brother had, would you trade places with him today? Would you rather have his life? He said, absolutely not. My brother's living at home. He's never really had a career. He's basically been taken care of by my father. He's basically non-ambitious. He's basically waiting for my father to die to inherit a small amount of money to survive.
My God.
I said, your father obviously believed you were capable of doing more with your life and felt you were strong enough to do it on your own. He never would have let you leave. Your father believed in you. He didn't believe in the brother, so he had to take care of the brother all his life. He believed in you. And all of a sudden he realized if he had been the opposite, the way he hoped it had been, he would have been like his brother. And he started to cry. He goes, whoa. And he finally got, for the first time in 42 years, that his father believed in him and was tough on him because he thought he could take it and survive on his own and never interfered with him.
Wow.
When he did that, he bawled and cried. And then I asked, who in the room here reminds you of your father? And he pulled a man out of the room that looked like his father. And I put them in chairs and they sat across from each other. I said, what do you want to tell your father? And he reached over there with tears and snot coming out of his nose, put his arms around him and said, I had no idea what you did for me that day. I thank you, Dad. I love you, Dad. I just had no idea what you did. I feel, thank you. And the guys said to him, thank you, son. It means a lot to me to finally understand that you understand what happened. Now, when he left there after midnight that night, his father lived in a different time zone. He contacted his father, got him on the phone. His father was 82 years old. And he said, I would like to come see you. This is your son. And the father said, that would mean a lot to me. I would absolutely love to see you, son. I want to hear all about your life. It would mean a lot to hear about your life. So he flew Wednesday to meet with his father and spent the day with him on Thursday, and Thursday night flew back to Australia. And what he said to the man in the chairs, he said to his father. And what the man in the chairs said back to him is what his father said.
Oh, wow.
The following day, his father died. And he came back to me at the next breakthrough experience. And he put his arms around, he's a big guy, put his arms around me and says, Dr. Demartini, I want to thank you for the last breakthrough experience. He says, you remember I was upset with my father? I said, yeah, I remember. He says, I went and visited my father and put my arms around him and hugged him, told him I loved him. I said, that's powerful. That means you've cleared that. He says, my father died the next day. I really believed that he was staying alive just so he could hear that one thing from me. He did not want to die until he heard that I loved him. Thank you for that opportunity. I brought 3 people to the breakthrough experience. I want you to not let them get away with anything. Be tough on them. Help them break through. I said, you got it. We'll make sure they break through.
Wow.
So that's the kind of stuff I see in the breakthrough experience. I could tell lots of stories.
Thank you. Everyone type in thank you for creating what he's created over here. I think it's profound for humanity, what I experienced. And I'm speechless, Doctor. Thank you so much for creating this. And with your permission, Doctor, I'm going to invite every single person here who's not yet gone through the breakthrough experience. Take this opportunity. Go through the breakthrough experience with us. And I'm going to share the link with all of you right now, which is this one. It's miteshkhatri.com/JD. And you'll see the program in terms of the cost is about £1,000. It's hardly anything. I have no idea why you've kept it so low in price. But you're going to have a small group of people who are going to work with Dr. John Demartini, with you and him, intimately in a live Zoom call for 2 full days. And believe me when I tell you, he gives his heart out to you those 2 days. You're going to be in conversation with him for a longer period of time, that you're going to be able to ask your questions, dissolve your grief, recognize your own values, who you truly are. And I'd really like you to write down these questions, everyone. What's the value of my inspired action? What is it? How valuable is that to you? If you could, from today onwards, after completing the breakthrough experience, if you could take inspired action for the rest of your life, how valuable would that be for you to be 100% clear of your values, to be able to dissolve your griefs, to be able to see balanced perspective, to see love everywhere, to see negative and positive everyone together, and to master the Demartini method? For me, that means a life to me. And my intention of doing this program today is to spread the same tears of joy that I and so many of us who had here with all of you. So I truly wish, with my deepest intention, that every single one of you gets to touch this magic of Dr. John Demartini in the Breakthrough Experience course. So click now. And those of you who are joining today, the dates for you to attend the live batch with him is going to be 14th and 15th of April. So write it down, 14th and 15th of April, as per UK time zone. It's going to be live for 2 full days. And when you join today, there's going to be a special bonus for all of you. 3 things that he's offering and his team is offering for us. The first thing is there's a course that he's created called Inspired Destiny, which is $400 of worth course. He's giving us that as a bonus. Second is a $1,000 bonus that we're getting, which is post the workshop is complete, the breakthrough experience is complete. A facilitator from his team is going to be appointed to you, who will have 3 one-on-one sessions with you on Zoom to help you practice everything that you've learned in the breakthrough experience. For how many of you, after learning a course, that hand-holding is truly valuable? Type an I in the chat window. For me, that's like gold mine. Not many people are able to really provide that to us. So you're going to get with this one-on-one facilitator who will work with you post-session, post the Demartini program, post the breakthrough experience program. And the third bonus is from my side. And that is, I will personally work with all of you in a group session. 3 sessions I will personally do with all of you who are paying for Dr. John Demartini's program today, because my deepest intention is to make sure that you practice everything and you become the human being that you truly deserve to be, authentic to your own true values. I have wasted many years of my life looking up to people, looking down to myself, being frustrated, feeling something is missing in my life. I've gone through depression. I've gone through suicidal thoughts. And I can tell you from personal experience, there's nobody else I will go back to than Dr. John Demartini to resolve all of this for me. He's already resolved it for me. Even now, I keep taking personal coaching from him. We took one the other day. I'm going to book one more very soon, because I strongly believe having a coach like him for the rest of our life is what is truly required for us to skyrocket our life to the next level. And more than growth, I will use the word being authentic to ourselves. For me, that is priceless. Type in the word priceless. If for some of you, that is going to be priceless. So after
Mitesh,
joining
the dates
today,
are 15, 16.
Sorry, so the dates are not 14, 15, the dates are 15th and 16th of April. While some of you are joining, I'm going to be inviting first Indu and then some of the graduates of the Breakthrough Experience today to share with us what magic they experienced during the program. And Doctor, I'd really like you to know, because I don't know if you really got the opportunity to go through the experience that these people really had after the program. So I really want you to feel what they felt, the magic that you created in our life, the transformation that you created in our life. And I think the only way we can thank you for that is by letting you know that we are living an inspired and authentic life now. So with your permission, can I call a few people to maybe share their results with you? Thank you, Doc. I'm going to invite, being biased, my wife, Indu first. Indu, you want to share your experience of the Breakthrough Experience with everyone first?
You should have taken others.
I know, go ahead.
Hey, Doctor. Thank you so much for a beautiful program. As usual, I really love listening to you. And every time I learn some or other thing for sure. So everyone, other than the Breakthrough Experience and the Values Training Program, we also took one-on-one coaching with Dr. Demartini. And I and Mitesh have a personal challenge, one little challenge, which we made it big. And we were really struggling. And when I presented that challenge to Dr. Demartini, he made it look so much big blessing for me than the challenge. He converted my entire challenge into a blessing, and he really made me realize that how my life is what it is today, and it is blessed life because of that one little challenge. So Doctor, your balanced perspective works amazing. So even now, whenever we look down to somebody or we judge somebody, within few minutes we come back and we're like, okay, let's look at the balance, and we come back to balanced perspective. For every judgment, for every criticism, we come back to balance. So thank you so much. Thanks a lot. And values training was brilliant, Doctor. We loved it. We made some changes and we are working on it. So thanks a lot for that as well.
Thank you. Thank you. And I must tell everyone what Indu was talking about, the small challenge. I'm the root cause of it. And I've had that, if I may say, that challenge for about, I don't know, maybe 15 years. And there are times where I've cried at night loudly because I thought I was missing something great in my life and I was struggling. I was going through so much suffering. You have no idea. Like most people can't believe, Mitesh, you can go through suffering. Yes, everybody can. So did I. And it was only when I had breakthrough experience with Dr. Demartini and then another one-on-one call with him, I realized what I was crying about, it was actually a gift. I was cursing it, thinking it was a curse, but actually it was a blessing for me. And from then till now, what I feel every day in my life is a blessing. And no matter how much I do for you, Doctor, it's always going to be less to pay gratitude for what you did for me that day. Thank you so much. I love you for this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to invite a few people from the Breakthrough Experience graduates. Please raise your virtual Zoom hand, those of you who attended, so you can share your experience with us too. Yes, Rahul. Go for it, buddy. Rahul is one of our platinum members and graduate of the Breakthrough Experience. Yes, go for it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, Indu ma'am and Mitesh sir, and thank you, Dr. John Demartini. I cannot express my feeling, the kind of teaching you teach to the people and to the world. And one of the realization for me in the entire breakthrough session was I started seeing myself balancing. I was comparing myself like somebody on a upper pedestal, and I was looking down to myself. So this has completely changed. And after attending your breakthrough session, Doctor, I can't say anything beyond. I mean, unbelievable things happening with me. Thank you so much to Mitesh sir and Indu ma'am, and thanks to you, doctor. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you, Rahul. Everyone, please
Thank
type in
you.
congratulations to Rahul.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you for honoring yourself.
Rahul. Thank you. Okay, so Aarti. Yes, Aarti, what would you like to share?
Thank you so very much, Mitesh sir. It was unexpected. I mean, it's like a dream come true. Thank you, Dr. John Demartini, for being there every morning. In my gratitude, I just give gratitude to you. Thank you for being there in my life, whichever form, I mean, through videos and whatever I've attended. I remember the day I was doing a breakthrough experience with you, 26th and the 27th January. My sister was in ICU, and the doctor had told clearly she's not gonna be anymore. And it was very difficult for me that moment to stay focused in your program. But I attended complete program, knowing my sister is gonna go any moment. And then we were doing the grief uh, program in the end, right? And then I came to know how I had already replaced my sister with my best friend. And that was something, then I was just feeling, oh my god, whatever I used to share and do talks and everything, I had already replaced with my best friend, and everything I was doing with my best friend, which I used to do with my sister. And then I had tears, a lot of tears in my eyes. I was feeling the grief of my sister going to leave any moment. But then the magic happened. Today my sister is alive, she's doing so good, and as if there was no symptoms of any illness in her. And
Wow.
yeah, she's like totally out. And then I realized how we replace people from nothing is missing, basically. That was the main thing. And in a personal front, I have been doing a lot of value, trying to know what I value the most. Still I'm struggling, but I keep on doing what I value the most. And where I'm lacking, I always used to compare myself from others. It has, I won't say it has gone completely, because I'm still doing exercises, it is still there what I value the most. But I feel confident somewhere. I feel wherever I am, nothing is missing. I am at the right place doing the right thing, and everything is being taken care. And though I feel, doctor, people try to keep telling you, hey, you deserve more, or you are at the wrong place, but I keep telling, no, I'm at the right place.
Everything is perfect.
Yeah,
Nothing is
everything is
missing.
perfect. And
Amazing.
I'm really looking forward. I'm manifesting, basically. The day comes when I had opportunity to do a session with you one-on-one.
Congratulations, Aarti.
Thank
Looking
you
forward
so
for that.
very much, Dr. John D. Martini. It's such a pleasure. It's a dream come true to, even sharing this is a blessing.
Thank you, Arti. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitesh sir, for
Thank you.
giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Thank you, Aarti. Thank you so much. Thank you. Doctor, the best gift that you gave all of us. You know what she said? I'm still struggling, but I'm confident. Everybody keeps thinking life has to be perfect, and law of attraction somewhere gives this misconception that everything has to be positive, everything has to be beautiful, everything has to be perfect. And the moment something goes wrong, we get shaken up completely and we go down. And now all of us who did the breakthrough experience with you, we are able to love life the way it is every time, when it's perfect and not perfect in our perceptions both. And you brought that divine love in our perceptions. Thank you. Thank you
And
so much.
Mitesh sir, I
Mitesh,
wanted to say something to Sir Dr. John D. Martini.
okay, go. Yeah.
Whenever I listen to you and speak to you, I have tears of joy all the time. I don't know why.
That's fine.
No, thank you, Arti.
Thank you, Aarti. Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
Mitesh, I'd like to say something
Please do so.
from what I'm hearing. Many people have been indoctrinated that they need to be one-sided to be perfect. Positive without negative, kind without cruel, nice without mean. And then they feel that they're living hypocritically with a morality they can't obtain. And this traps people. These unrealistic expectations of being one-sided and the illusion that that's what perfection is. But I learned from Leibniz, the German philosopher, when I was 18. that the real, true divine perfection was the whole, not a one-sided part. And you have all of that within you. And the moment you honor all parts of yourself, you get to experience that perfection. So it's not something you have to try to find. All you have to do is wake up to the magnificence that you already have. That's what I'm trying to do with the breakthrough experience. To help you realize that nothing's missing, you already have the perfection. And the perfection is not a one-sided thing you have to search for and try to obtain, which is futile. The perfection is the embracing of all parts of yourself in each situation and knowing how to ask the questions to realize it. That's what I'm trying to offer people, to help them with a new set of questions so they can look through new eyes and see the perfection that they already have. It's already there. It's already present.
Thank you, Doctor. I've taken more time than I took promise from you for. I'm sorry, I've gone about 90 minutes instead of 60 minutes. Thank you so much for your time. Is there something before I could, I'll continue with the group for some more time. I'll take some of their question answers. Would you have 5 minutes? I don't know if you do, to take any questions about the breakthrough experience from the audience.
Sure.
Okay, great. So we're going to allow 2 questions. So who has any, if you've not done the breakthrough experience yet, and you have any questions about the breakthrough experience, about how it can help you take your life to the next level, physically raise your hands or your virtual Zoom hand so I can get him to answer your question right now. Okay, so we've got Gopi. Yes, Gopi, what's your question?
Yeah, good evening or good morning, Dr. Demartini, wherever your time zones are.
Okay.
Yeah, so last time, January, I think, India time, I have attended a breakthrough session, which is very good. And, after attending 2 sessions, just I will tell, simply 1 or 2 minutes. I went for taking breakfast. I am seeing completely new kind of world. What I'm experiencing the 2 days, completely new thing. I, amazed how this could have been happened. Yeah, it's been very great. And my question is, what is the final words of getting success in life, whichever category, like health, relationship, career, money? What are your suggestions for?
Each individual has a unique set of values or hierarchy of values. That hierarchy of values determines how they perceive, decide, and act. Because that's unique, like a fingerprint, no 2 people's definition of fulfillment and success is the same. To somebody that has a very high value on raising a family with children, they would perceive success as having beautiful children. They won't see it as business or finance. They see it as children. To somebody that has a high value on physical fitness and beauty, they'll see it in their beauty or in their physical tone. If it's somebody that has a high value on social contribution, they'll see it on how much they can do to make a difference in people's lives. If they see it in business, they'll grow a business. If they see it in wealth, they'll manifest wealth. The hierarchy of your values dictates your destiny. Each individual has a unique, completely unique idea of what achievement success is. The problem begins the moment we compare ourselves to a social idealism that this is what success is, and it doesn't match our values. Then we think we're a failure, like the gentleman who thought he was a failure relative to the guy down the street, the doctor. He was a success, but in his own values. So first identifying what your values are, then setting goals that are aligned and congruent with what those are, so you increase the probability of achieving them, and not comparing yourself to other people, which can distract you and to make you judge yourself, is what liberates you from the illusion that you're not already successful.
Perfect. Thank you for that answer. Thank you, Gopi, for that wonderful question. The follow-up question for that is something that I saw in the chat, I think very powerful question. So I'm going to take that up with you, Doctor. The last question is, when I come to the breakthrough experience, is it possible for us to really now, so for an example, you said, if I'm not attracting wealth in my life right now, it's probably because wealth is in my lower values. If I'm not attracting good relationships, it's probably because relationships are on my lower values right now. In the breakthrough experience, will I be able to learn how to bring that up on my hierarchy of values so that I can actually start attracting it in my life now?
Well, the answer is yes. I can show you how to change your values, or I can show you how to appreciate your life according to your values now, because the only reason you're not appreciating it is because you're comparing it to somebody else. So you have two options: either honor who you are and realize and appreciate that your values are leading you to a unique path, and that's a worthy path that's worth loving and appreciating. But if you do not have wealth high on your values, you may not be having a abundance of money. I can help you appreciate that, or I can show you how to change the values to increase the probability of now going out and serving people, now taking a portion of your income and putting it into investments, and learning the art and mastery of buying assets so it starts making passive income so you can have an abundant life. I can show you both ways. I encourage you to learn both ways, because sometimes you're going to want to appreciate who you are as you are. Other times you're going to want to shift your values and change the form. But I want you to know both. And both of them I teach you in the class. That way you can honor, because sometimes a woman has raised a family till they're 18, 20 years old, and they've gone off to college. And all of a sudden she goes, now I don't know who I am anymore. I'm having an identity crisis, an empty nest. So now what do? I've never had any background in business. I've never had any education. What do I do? So we can shift the values and start allowing the path of personal development, education, and business and finance to go up. Or we can find an alternative way of being a mother to other children, maybe a philanthropic thing, helping kids, maybe assisting other families. I don't care what your commitment to is. I can show you how to change the values to match the goals, or set goals that match the values. The key is to have those congruent if you want fulfillment and inspiration.
Amazing answer. Thank you so much, Doc. Thank you so much for spending 90 minutes with us. And before we close the session, with your permission, I'm also going to take the opportunity to thank your team. We've got Clarissa here. So Clarissa, if I can...
Mitesh?
Yes, Indu.
Before you say bye to everyone,
yes.
There are a lot of people who filled in the form to attend. But as you all know that Dr. Demartini takes very limited number of people in his breakthrough experience. So best would be at least make a token amount payment to block the seat. Right now, I think 20, 25 people have actually filled in the form, but they did not actually make the payment. Unless and until you make the payment, your seat is not blocked. Just remember that. Do you want to emphasize on that, Mitesh?
Yes. So make sure that you block your seats, because these are limited live seats. What we did in India last time, this is not exactly that. It's going to be a small group of people intimately really working with Dr. John Demartini there. So what we can do for all of you to make sure that today's block remains deal with you, if some of you need a little more time to make that payment within 7 days, Indu, we can maybe share your block deal payment link with them so they can pay 10,000 rupees now. And then within 7 days, they can...
With the same link, they can pay 10,000, Mitesh.
With the same link?
Yeah. They
okay, great. So you can do that. Perfect. So thank you so much for that, Indu. We'll do more logistics questions once we let Dr. John go. I don't want to take more of his time, but thank you so much, Doctor. And before you leave, I'm going to take the opportunity to also with you invite Clarissa, if that's fine, to also thank her, because there's huge amount of work that goes in creating these workshops and to take care of everything in the business side. So Clarissa, say hi to everyone here. Hey, everyone, let's unmute. Say hi to Clarissa. She's the person who handles everything in the business side over there.
Hello, welcome, Clarissa.
Right. So Clarissa, you can unmute yourself again. Thank you so much for taking the time, for giving us the permission to be able to be with us, with Dr. John, with you today, and supporting the Breakthrough Experience course.
And thank you so much, Mitesh, for having us as well. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Great. So Clarissa, we'll be in touch with you. Doctor, we'll be in touch with you. And I'll make sure that once you leave, I'll answer any questions that people have and do whatever best I can to be part of your mission to spread this beautiful magic to everybody in the world. Thank you so much again for creating what you have.
Thank you, Mitesh. Thank all of you. Love you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you, Doctor.
Everyone, let's unmute. Say I love you to him again.
Love you,
Love
doctor.
you,
Thank
Love
you.
you,
Love you,
doctor.
Demartini sir.
Bye. Thank you.
Ma'am,
Very much, doctor.
Thank you so
love
much.
you.
So much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, doctor. We love you. Thank you again, Clarissa. You're welcome to stay back, Clarissa, if you'd like to for a few minutes more. I'm just gonna.
Wonderful. And Emil will also be on as well. So we'll stay on for a couple of minutes with you.
Most welcome, most welcome. Done. Okay, so before we take logistics questions on the pricing and everything, I'm gonna unmute all of you once. Give me one word. How are you feeling? Come on, everyone. Let's go.
Very good.
That's so great.
Many efforts for us.
Very eye-opening.
Crazy? Yes. Okay. So how many of you are committed to have him as your coach?
Yes.
How many of you are committed to have him as your guide, your mentor, so that you can learn from him constantly over a period of time? Raise your hands, please. Okay. So those of you who are committed, there is a link in the chat window. Let me show you how that works and what is the pricing of the course and everything. And you can ask questions once I clarified all of this one more time to you. I am sharing the screen also with all of you to show you exactly what you will see on the screen when you click on that link for the first time. This is what you will see over there. And here we go. So on the screen, what you see, this is his course page, the breakthrough experience. On the top right corner, it says, get your ticket. So click on this and you will see the actual price of this course is over here, which is actually £1,700. But for now, today it is £975, which in Indian amount, and if you can just tell me quickly, what's the total amount in Indian terms for the breakthrough experience in pounds? That'd be nice. Put in your first name here, your last name here, your email ID, and then your mobile number, and calculate and just move forward with your pricing. If some of you need a little more help in terms of the payments or something, just raise your virtual Zoom hand. I'll answer any questions that you have. There are 3 specific bonuses that you're getting right now. Let me show you what those bonuses are. The first very bonus that Clarissa was generous enough to share with us on behalf of Dr. John Demartini is, let me show you on screen.
Mitesh, the amount is 99,000 something.
Yes, so it's about 1 lakh rupees round off, but it's about 99,000 rupees something in Indian amount for 2 full live days directly with Dr. John Demartini live in a Zoom call. Now, if you see, this is the link of the Inspired Destiny course. There are about 14 videos in this, and it's $400 worth. This is the first bonus that you're getting. The second bonus that you're getting immediately after the course is complete of the breakthrough experience is you will be having an individual facilitator calling you and setting up a call with you. You'll be setting up a call. You'll get a calendar link so you can schedule your appointment 3 times with them at the beginning of after the course is complete. And then they will share with you 12-part videos of Dr. John Demartini to help you practice everything that you've learned in the breakthrough experience. So first call will be your accountability call, personal accountability with you one-on-one. After 6 calls, they will have 1 more call with you to make sure that you're doing your homework, you're working based on your values, you're practicing the Demartini method, you're actually being inspired. After the second call, they'll do 1 more call with you. The third call will be after the 12 videos to make sure that you're really on track. Other than that, once you finish those 3 calls, I will also do 3 calls with all of you in a group session where I will also personally make sure that I will guide you with whatever way I have understood to practice this the most. Recently, I've also been licensed with Dr. John Demartini for facilitating the values training program. I'm also doing the license program for the second tool that he has, which is the Demartini method. I'm yet to do that sometime in the month of June. Once we complete that, we'll also invite you for that. But for now, my bonus from my side is also all of you who are joining will have 3 sessions with me also. Okay. So now any questions anybody has, you're welcome to stay back. Ask your questions now. Okay. So Manorji, what's your question, sir? Yes, sir.
How much we are supposed to pay today?
Today we are supposed to pay 99,000 something on the same link. So it comes to about a round figure of 1 lakh.
But blocking.
So you can also block. Indu, what you can do, please, if you can one more time leave the block link in the chat window for 10,000 rupees for all of them who want to right now block. And then within 7 days, they can pay the balance. We can send them the link again after that.
Mitesh?
Yes, Indu?
The link, the way it works, once they go ahead, they can pay block right now and balance they can pay using the same link.
Got it. So the same
it's
link
not the
can be used. Perfect.
Yeah.
So you can use the same link. you can pay at this point of time £100 in that amount on the link instead of 1,000. So that way you will be able to block it, which is close to about 10,000 rupees. And then the balance you can pay within 7 days using the same link. We'll also make sure that you will get an email for the balance link within 7 days again.
Thank you.
Most welcome, sir.
Somebody is saying some pocket-friendly sessions or recordings can be provided.
If you go to his website, you'll find tons. But the Breakthrough Experience live course is just crazy. So how many of you would love to hear, even if you're not able to afford right now the Breakthrough Experience, would love to listen and learn more from Dr. John Demartini from today? Raise your hands, please. Okay, so we're going to share a link right now in the chat window with all of you on YouTube, in Zoom, and on my screen right now. This is the link. For a second, I'm going to share it. It's miteshkhatri.com/JDYT, JD for John Demartini and YT is for YouTube. Click on this link quickly. Do it now in front of me, and I'll tell you why. Let me show you exactly what you will see over there on screen. Ritesh, maybe you can also share it in the team. The moment you click on it, you will automatically reach this page of Dr. John Demartini's YouTube channel, where you can right now subscribe to his YouTube channel. Do it now. Believe me, this is the only channel that I'm subscribed to at this point of time. And this is the only channel where I keep watching videos and I keep learning every single day. Now, you may say, Mitesh, you've already done the values training. You're getting licensed by him. Why do you still watch his videos? Every video that he does, even today, is a jewel of its own. It's a jewel of its own. Okay. So don't miss out on that opportunity. Subscribe to the channel right now so you take advantage of being part of his wisdom. Okay. Yes. Any other questions? Did you have a question there, Arti? Yes, Indu.
No, it's Emilio, Mitesh. Emil from the Demartini Institute. So just Mitesh, just to quickly walk you through the landing page. If they click on the link, and the payment option comes in, they'll see there's the option to do 2 payments on it, so that they can choose that option. If they do have a challenge with that, I will share my contact number in the chat, that they can get in contact with me personally, and I'll assist them to able to make that payment towards that. Okay, so that is how it will work. I'll also put my email address also in the chat as well. If they do want to email me, then I can assist them with that. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
So sending that link again for those of you who are asking for the link one more time. I'm also on my screen removing this link and giving you back the main payment link for the course. Okay, so I think a couple of more people had questions there. Aarti, what was your question?
Mitesh sir, I want to check, like, as we have done breakthrough experience previously with Dr. John Demartini, and I'm still, struggling with the value thing, and then stuck in, particularly in my career also. So I have a lot of confusion going on. So if I want to attend, do you suggest me go ahead and just do it now?
So for platinum members, don't worry. We have a separate session coming in, so we'll work with you on that because you've already done the breakthrough experience.
Yes,
I will be working with you separately for that, so don't worry about it.
Okay, sir. So do let me know if you suggest me, then I will go ahead and
see. As far as if you want to, you're always welcome to, because I'm definitely doing his course multiple times. I'm also doing the license program. So that's your choice. But as far as the clarity is concerned, for the platinum members, I'm there. We are actually starting the session on that very soon for all of you, because you've anyways done the breakthrough experience with me.
Yes, sir.
So don't worry. Just wait for that.
And
Mitesh? Yes, Indu.
And if the person who has already attended goes ahead and makes the payment, they get some additional discount. So if you put your email ID right now, Mitesh, you will get additional discount. So you're actually not paying 99,000. You will be paying around 67,000 in Indian rupees, roughly.
Oh, okay. That's a huge thing. All right. So those of you who want to repeat the program, because last time, if you know, because we did it dedicated for India time zone, we had about 750 people for it. But this is going to be a smaller group. It's going to be a very intimate group. And that is why the fees is also high compared to what we did last time. So you're getting a huge discount again, because you're doing the program second time. Just make sure that you use your same email ID and you'll get that discount. Yes. So I think all the questions are done. Emil, you were saying something?
Yes. Mitesh, I just want to also answer that question for Autry is, if you come and attend the breakthrough experience again, is like Indu said, you do get a refresher price. But also with that, a lot of people come and attend the breakthrough experience a second time to do the method on themselves. Because when you attend the first time a breakthrough experience, you can do it on somebody else that you look down on. But then you can also come and do the breakthrough experience to do the method on yourself. So a lot of people come and do it for a second time. And then also they come in either to do the traits of the greats, the people they look up to and admire, to come and do the method on that. So that's a great opportunity to come and do that. And then you also refresh the principles and the ideas that you've learned the first time. So great to come and do it a second time.
Perfect. In fact, there are a lot of people whom I know have done it second time. Am I right, Emil? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I've been studying with Dr. Demartini for 15 years, and I've done over 20 breakthrough experiences. So you always come back and learn more aspects of the work.
Absolutely. Awesome. So before we close, I'm going to give my email ID to all of you as well, which is contact@miteshkhatri.com in the chat window for all of you. In case some of you have any questions regarding the Demartini method in the program, again, you're welcome to send those questions at contact@miteshkhatri.com. Our team will be able to respond back to it in 24 hours, or even better, if you want directly Emil, which is on his team, to answer your questions, we're also giving you his email ID over there. So I'll just copy paste that email again.
Mitesh,
yes,
Jayashree, there are some people saying that they're having problem in making the payment. Jayashree, may I know what is the challenge you're facing? Can you unmute yourself?
Jayashree Matara, okay.
I also have the problem.
Yeah.
I wanted to block 10,000, but when I click on that link, that particular option is not available.
Okay. So there are chances that one, we can ask Emil to walk us through. The second chance can be you all need to go and check your card. Is your card enabled for online international transactions? This is not our page. This is Dr. Demartini's page, which is for US. So your card should be enabled for international online payment. Just check that is it on or not. Manor sir, Jayashree, please do that. And Mitesh, why don't you put in some, maybe Ritesh's mail?
That means we are not paying in rupees, we are paying in terms of foreign exchange.
Pounds,
that's right,
foreign exchange, yes.
That's right.
Okay.
Correct. Okay, what were you saying, Indu? Whose email ID you talking about?
Do you want to just walk through the payment process right now, putting somebody else's mail ID? Yeah.
Well, I can do my own mail ID and try and.
आपके इसमें discount दिखाएगा.
Yeah, I'll go pick you up as a refresher, Mitesh. So.
Emil is saying. Yeah,
you could just create a fake email. I'll delete it afterwards.
All right, no problem. I'll just go ahead with my email over there, and.
Jayashree, Manor sir, just have a look at Mitesh.
Let's say I'm just putting in some random mobile number right now and calculate order. Okay, here we go. So because my email ID was already there, as you see, the amount that is coming in here is 680 GBP, which is Great British Pound. So it's pounds, and that comes to about 68,000 rupees now.
That's right.
Less than 68,000 rupees compared to 1 lakh, which is the usual fees. So if I now say checkout,
why is it taking?
All right, here we go. So once the checkout is complete, it takes a few seconds over here, so don't worry about it. The pay invoice option is here. Now you can either use PayPal instead, or you can click on one of these links. So for an example, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discovery Card, or Diners Card. So let's say I'm clicking on right now Visa card. Okay.
So, it goes without OTP, Mitesh. Just be
careful. I realized it. So now all you need to do is you enter the code sent to your mobile number. The reason it is already asking me this is because my card must have been already saved here. So you put in your credit card details here, and automatically after that, the payment will go directly from here. So this is the way we need to make the payment.
Jayashree is getting it, correct. Congratulations, Jayashree.
Yes, Jayashree, congratulations. Perfect. So I'm sure there are more people, but we'll be able to see them after the form is filled. All of you make sure that if you really want to get the bonus advantage that we spoke about, finish your payment today. Even after this call is fine, but make sure that you finish your payment today so that you're able to take advantage of the bonus, which is the Inspired Destiny course. 3 calls directly with his team, one-on-one facilitation after the course is complete, and 3 calls with me, part of a group session to implement your value session. Okay.
Yeah,
yes,
there's just one more thing, Mitesh. Once they fill up the form, if they are not able to make the payment, nothing to worry. Dr. John's team connects with you because they have already got the data. They will connect with you for the payment follow-up. No worry about it. I'll ask to Clarissa or Marlisa or Emile to follow up on that.
Perfect. So I think we're done with all the questions. Everybody had a great time? Yes. How many of you promised to keep learning on his YouTube channel? Raise your hands, please. Yeah, please listen, keep listening, keep making notes. And I look forward to see you soon in the next session. And all of you remember today evening, 7 p.m., we have the next Hope Nope No session happening today. Remember that Hope Nope No certification we do very, very rarely. So today is the new webinar of that at 7 p.m. So make sure that you look out for your emails. It will also be live on YouTube. So I'll see you today evening at 7 p.m. Okay. Once again, Emil, thank you so much for joining us. And Clarissa, again, thank you so much. I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you, everybody. We look forward to having you at the Breakthrough Experience.
Thank you. Thank you. All right,
Absolutely.
everyone.
Thank you, Mitesh. Thank you, Indu.
And I love you to all as usual. Here we go.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, and I love you to all.
I love you very much.
Thank you. I love you all.
Thank you.